Your deeper mind did not wait for your first date to decide what kind of love would move you. Long before you could explain romance, something inside you was already building a pattern. Quietly, carefully. Deep in the background of your mind, a map was being drawn. Not a fantasy, not just a mood, a real inner design that shapes who pulls you in and why some people leave you cold, even when they look perfect on paper. Most people choose partners with a list: looks, money, status, humor, lifestyle, the right image, the right story. And then they wonder why something still feels missing. Why the connection looks good from the outside but feels empty in private. That emptiness comes from chasing a checklist while your deeper self is searching for a signal, a match, a person who reaches a place in you that logic cannot touch. When you meet someone who fits that hidden pattern, it does not feel like meeting a stranger. It feels like remembering, like your whole body already knows something your mind is still trying to catch up with. That is why instant attraction can feel so strange. Not always sweet, sometimes unsettling, sometimes too strong, sometimes completely against your normal type. Stay with me because this is where it gets real. The pull is often strongest when the person is not what you planned for, because the deepest part of you is not trying to keep you comfortable. It is trying to wake you up. It is looking for the one person who can open locked rooms inside your personality, the parts you left untouched for years. So maybe you are not just looking for a partner at all. Maybe you are looking for the key to your own unopened life, and the reason certain people affect you so deeply is because they carry that key without even knowing it. The biggest lie about true love is that it should always feel easy, soft, and safe, as if the right person will simply protect your comfort and never disturb your peace. But the person who matters most does not only comfort you, they reflect you. They show you the parts of yourself you have hidden, denied, or pushed into the dark because they did not fit the image you wanted the world to see. Your anger, your envy, your fear, your selfish habits, your need for control, your buried hunger, but also your buried power, your courage, your creativity, your wild honesty. The deeper parts of you do not disappear just because you hide them. They wait, they twist, they leak into your life as anxiety, self-sabotage, emotional distance, and strange overreactions you cannot explain. Then the right connection appears, and suddenly you are face to face with yourself. This is why a deep relationship can feel intense even when love is present. A shallow partner lets you stay edited. A life-changing partner sees the version of you behind the performance and refuses to pretend it is not there. They do not shame your darker side. They help you understand it. They show you that what you called stubbornness might also be strength, that what you called oversensitivity might actually be empathy, that what you called too much might be the exact force you were meant to grow into. This part matters, so do not skip over it. Real love does not turn you into a neat, harmless version of yourself. It helps you pull gold out of places you once wanted to hide. That process is not always pleasant. It can shake your ego. It can break old masks. It can expose the distance between who you pretend to be and who you really are. But that discomfort is not always a warning sign. Sometimes it is proof that the connection is reaching a level inside you that ordinary attraction never touches. When the right person enters your life, strange things often begin to happen around the connection. The world stops feeling random for a moment. Coincidences start stacking in ways that feel too exact to ignore. You think of them and they call. You dream something and a similar moment shows up the next day. You keep crossing paths in places that make no sense. A message arrives at the exact second you were about to give up. A song, a phrase, a date, a symbol keeps appearing as if life itself is pointing at the bond and saying, "Pay attention." To other people, it may look silly. To you, it feels charged, meaningful, almost electric. This is not about both of you liking the same food or watching the same movies. It is deeper than shared taste. It is that eerie feeling that outer events are mirroring an inner truth. And these moments often increase when the relationship stands at an important crossroads, as if reality itself becomes louder when your heart is close to a real decision. Do not miss this because most people talk themselves out of these signs too quickly. They want every meaningful event to have a simple cause. They want life to stay small and explainable. But some connections slip past the rational mind and hit a deeper layer. You may feel each other's mood from far away. You may know when something is wrong before a word is spoken. You may wake with the same fear, the same image, the same urgency, even when distance separates you. That is not the same as unhealthy dependence. Fear-based attachment drains you. Deep resonance sharpens you. It makes you more aware, not less. It does not blur your reality. It intensifies it. When impossible timing and strange emotional echoes keep circling one person, it may be a sign that the connection is not random at all. It may be part of a larger path, one that your life has been moving toward for much longer than you realize. Most people live only a small fraction of who they could be. They learn one role and repeat it for years. The hard worker, the good parent, the quiet one, the funny one, the reliable one, the helper, the survivor. And then they stay there, using the same reactions, the same defenses, the same personality settings, until life becomes predictable and thin. But when you meet the right person, they do not simply join your routine. They change the size of your inner world. Their presence wakes up parts of you that have been asleep for years. Suddenly you speak with more courage. You create more freely. You trust your instincts more. You set stronger boundaries. You feel more alive. Not because you followed some self-help plan, not because you forced a new identity, but because something in that connection made hidden parts of you feel safe enough to come out. This is one of the clearest signs of a rare bond. You are not just enjoying the other person. You are becoming more fully yourself around them. They do not hand you a fake upgrade. They unlock what was already there. They call out the stronger version of you before you can fully see it. And by being seen that way, you slowly grow into it. A normal relationship can offer comfort and support, and there is nothing wrong with that. But a transformative relationship acts like fire. It melts the social masks. It burns away the extra layers. It reveals what was covered, ignored, delayed. You may rediscover a creative side you buried in childhood. You may find leadership where you once felt small. You may start saying what you mean after years of silence. Keep listening because this changes everything. The right person does not replace your path. They activate it. They make your life feel less like a loop and more like an unfolding story where every new day reveals a part of your nature that had been waiting for the right moment to rise. Every human life carries a hidden story underneath the surface, a deeper pattern that gives pain, loss, and desire some kind of shape. But most people move through that story half asleep. They feel the weight of certain moments, but they do not understand the plot. So heartbreak feels pointless. Rejection feels cruel. Failure feels like wasted time. They walk through the chapters of their lives without seeing how the scenes connect. And because of that, they make choices from fear, habit, and survival instead of meaning. Then a powerful connection enters and suddenly the fog starts to clear. What once looked like random damage begins to look like preparation. Old heartbreaks no longer feel like proof that love failed you. They start to look like lessons that sharpened your sight. The people who left, the pain that humbled you, the seasons that stripped you down, all of it begins to make a strange kind of sense. Not because suffering becomes beautiful, but because it becomes useful. This is one of the deepest signs that you have met a life-changing person. Your past begins to rearrange itself into meaning. You realize that if certain wounds had not happened exactly as they did, you might not have had the wisdom, patience, or depth to recognize this connection now. Read that again in your mind. It matters. The right bond can make your whole history feel coherent for the first time. Your life stops looking like a pile of disconnected scenes and starts feeling like a long road that was shaping you for a meeting you did not know was coming. That is why some people feel a kind of relief when they meet the person who truly reaches them. Not just excitement. Relief. As if they have finally come home to a truth their soul already knew. It is the feeling of realizing you were never truly lost. You were simply in the middle of a chapter that had not revealed its purpose yet. Here is the hard truth most people do not want to hear. Many people run from the love that could change their lives. They say they want something deep, real, and lasting, but when it finally appears, they panic. Why? Because deep love is not only sweet. It is exposing. It asks for honesty. It asks for growth. It asks for the death of old masks, old stories, and old defenses. A connection that truly matters will not let you stay hidden behind charm, control, distance, perfection, or emotional games. It asks you to be seen all the way through, and that is terrifying for anyone who has built their life around self-protection. It is easier to stay with someone who does not ask much from you, someone who lets you remain half awake, someone who accepts your surface and never reaches your depths. Safe love is easier to manage. Transforming love is harder to survive if you are still attached to the person you used to be. This is why fear is not always proof that a connection is wrong. Sometimes fear appears because the connection is important enough to change your identity. You fear what can move you. You fear what can expose you. You fear what can take your carefully managed self and break it open. And still, there is a choice. Always a choice. You can stay inside familiar patterns, repeating the same emotional loops because they are known and manageable. Or you can step into the kind of love that asks more from you and gives more back. Not comfort alone, expansion. Not safety alone, truth. If you feel torn, if your mind is screaming while your deeper self keeps leaning forward, do not ignore that tension too quickly. It may be the sign that something bigger than preference is involved. Some doors in life do not open because they are easy. They open because they lead to the version of you that cannot be reached any other way. The deepest bond is not about finding someone to complete your broken pieces while you stay exactly the same. It is about finding the force that pushes you to become whole. That is why certain connections feel less like romance and more like a call, a demand, a turning point. They reveal where you have been settling for comfort when your deeper self was asking for growth. They show you the difference between being liked and being known, between being chosen for convenience and being recognized at the level of soul, instinct, and inner truth. If you have always felt out of place in love, if relationships kept looking right but feeling strangely empty, maybe it was never because you were too difficult or too much. Maybe you were trying to solve an inner hunger with outer compatibility. Maybe you were looking for peace when your deeper life was asking for transformation. And the signs of a rare connection are not subtle once you truly see them. The magnetic pull that makes no logical sense, the mirror effect that reveals what you hide, the impossible timing, the emotional echo, the way the person wakes up lost parts of you, the way your past begins to make sense in their presence, the way fear and recognition can exist side by side. These are not small signals. They are invitations. If this is hitting a nerve, there is a reason, not because of chance, because something in you already knows. Because your inner pattern is waking up and asking to be taken seriously, pause for a second and be honest with yourself. Are you choosing the mask because it feels safer? Or are you ready for the kind of love that asks you to grow into your full size? This is not just about romance. It is about identity. It is about whether you are willing to stop living on the surface of your own life and finally step into the deeper current that has been trying to lead you all along. One of the clearest signs you have found a rare connection is this. The person touches parts of you that no one else could reach, even if they are not trying to. It is not always dramatic at first. Sometimes it begins quietly. A sentence they say stays in your mind for days. A look from them makes you suddenly aware of something you have been avoiding for years. A simple conversation leaves you feeling as if a locked door inside you has shifted open by 1 inch. And once that happens, it is hard to go back to sleep. You start noticing how much of your life was built on autopilot. How many choices came from fear? How many relationships were built on convenience, image, or emotional habit? The right person does not need to rescue you to disrupt you. Their presence alone can become a mirror, a pressure, a strange kind of light. You feel pulled toward honesty. You want to tell the truth more. You want to stop hiding. You feel both calmer and more awake. That mix matters. Because false intensity usually leaves you confused and drained, while a meaningful connection often leaves you challenged, but clearer. Even when it shakes you, it sharpens you. Even when it scares you, it reveals you. Keep going with me here because most people mistake familiar pain for love and then miss the real thing when it arrives. They choose what matches their wounds instead of what awakens their deeper self. But a rare bond does not only repeat your damage, it exposes it so it can be healed. It does not flatter your ego. It calls your spirit forward. You begin to feel that your life is asking more from you now. More courage, more honesty, more maturity, more surrender. And while part of you may resist that call, another part feels strangely relieved because at last something real is happening. At last, love is not just feeding your fantasy. It is asking for your evolution. Another subtle sign is that this person changes your relationship with time. Before them, life may have felt repetitive. Days blurred together. Choices looked small. Love felt like a cycle of excitement, disappointment, recovery, and repeat. But with the right person, time starts to feel heavier in a good way. Moments carry meaning. Conversations feel larger than the words being spoken. A single evening can stay with you for months. A glance can replay in your mind because it seemed to say more than language could hold. This is not because you are obsessed. It is because your inner world has recognized significance. You feel that something important is happening, and your mind keeps circling back because it knows the moment belongs to a bigger story. Sometimes people try to dismiss this as chemistry alone. But chemistry fades fast when there is no depth beneath it. What makes a profound connection different is the way it keeps unfolding. It keeps revealing layers. You do not simply want more attention from the person. You want more truth, more understanding, more reality. The bond makes you reflect. It makes you question your patterns. It makes you more aware of who you have been and who you are becoming. That is why these connections can feel almost sacred. Not because they are always peaceful, but because they carry consequence. You sense that if you ignore this, you will betray something important in yourself. And if you follow it, you may have to leave behind an older version of your life. That is a serious threshold. Not everyone is ready for it. Many people turn away right there and call it bad timing. But sometimes bad timing is simply the name we give to a moment that asks for more courage than we currently want to give. Think about that. Some meetings are not casual. Some are crossroads. And if one person keeps making your life feel more awake, more honest, more connected, then your deeper self may already know what your cautious mind is still trying to deny. A real soul-level connection also changes the way you experience pain. It does not erase it. It gives it direction. Before, your pain may have felt pointless, like a private prison with no lesson inside it. But around the right person, even difficult emotions can start to show you something valuable. Jealousy may reveal insecurity you never faced. Distance may expose your fear of abandonment. Conflict may uncover your habit of shutting down, pleasing others, or controlling the room before anyone can hurt you. This is why deep love can feel so intense. Not because it is unhealthy by nature, but because it reaches the roots instead of staying at the surface. A casual bond can distract you from yourself. A rare bond introduces you to yourself. That is not always comfortable. In fact, it can be brutal at times. But there is a difference between a person who triggers your wounds and leaves you broken, and a person whose presence brings your wounds into the light so they can finally be understood. The first leaves chaos. The second creates awareness. That difference is everything. If someone keeps exposing your truth while also making you want to rise, take responsibility, and become more whole, that is not something to dismiss quickly. Real connection does not only say, "I love you." It also says, "Wake up, stand up, stop hiding, stop shrinking. Stop lying to yourself about what you want and what you fear." That message can arrive in soft moments and hard moments, in tenderness, in silence, in challenge, in the way they keep seeing through your excuses even when everyone else accepts them. And yes, that can feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is not always damage. Sometimes it is the sound of old armor cracking. Sometimes it is the first sign that the life you built around defense is no longer strong enough to hold the truth of who you are becoming. There is also a strange sense of recognition that often comes with this kind of bond, and it is difficult to explain without sounding dramatic. You may feel as if you have known the person longer than you have. The connection can move quickly, not always in outer events, but in inner depth. You find yourself saying things you do not normally say, feeling safe in places where you are usually guarded, or feeling exposed in places you thought were fully protected. It can seem as if the relationship skips the shallow levels and goes straight to something ancient, something already waiting beneath the surface. That is why many people describe this type of connection as familiar and disruptive at the same time. It feels like home and like a storm, like rest and awakening, like comfort and risk. If you have felt that contradiction, do not assume it means the bond is false. Sometimes it means the bond is touching both your deepest longing and your deepest fear at once. And that is exactly why it feels unforgettable. This is where many people make the wrong move. They confuse intensity with danger and run, or they confuse comfort with truth and settle. But a powerful connection asks for discernment, not panic. Ask yourself what the relationship is actually producing inside you. Is it making you smaller, weaker, more lost, more dependent on chaos? Or is it making you more honest, more aware, more alive, more willing to face yourself? That answer matters more than the speed, more than the labels, more than the opinions of people watching from the outside. Because those people are not living in your inner world. You are. And if one person keeps pulling your life toward deeper truth, sharper awareness, and fuller expression, then maybe the bond is not here to distract you from your path. Maybe it is here to reveal it. Maybe this person is not just entering your story. Maybe they are helping you finally understand the story you were already living. The truth is that many people never meet themselves fully because they never allow themselves to stay in the kind of love that would reveal them. They choose what is manageable, what is approved, what fits the script, what looks right in photos, what keeps life organized and emotionally safe. But safety can become a cage when it is built only to protect your masks. You can spend years in a relationship that never truly touches your depths and call it peace, when really it is stagnation dressed in polite language. A rare connection ruins that illusion. It makes shallow peace harder to tolerate. Once you have felt what it is like to be seen beyond the surface, to be challenged into growth, to experience timing and emotion and meaning aligning in ways you cannot easily explain, it becomes much harder to go back to ordinary pretending. That is why these relationships can feel so costly. They ask you to give up the comfort of staying half known. They ask you to stop performing and start becoming. Not becoming better for applause, becoming truer in private, becoming someone whose outer life finally matches the deeper life inside. If this message is landing hard, take that seriously. Some truths do not enter your life by accident. Some show up when you are finally ready to hear what you could not hear before. Maybe that is where you are right now, at the edge of a decision, at the edge of honesty, at the edge of a love that is less about romance as entertainment and more about relationship as transformation. If so, do not rush past it. Look clearly. Feel honestly. Listen beneath the noise. Because the biggest turning points in life do not always arrive with a perfect explanation. Sometimes they arrive as a person who makes your soul feel recognized, your masks feel tired, your past feel meaningful, and your future feels suddenly, almost frighteningly, alive. So when you ask whether you have found your soulmate, maybe the better question is this. Have you met the person who makes you more real? The one who pulls hidden truth to the surface? The one who makes your life feel guided instead of random? The one who turns old pain into meaning and old fear into a doorway? The one who wakes up your courage, your depth, your honesty, your forgotten power? The one who makes you feel both called out and called upward? Because that is the deeper sign. Not just butterflies, not just attraction, not just comfort, but transformation. The person who matters most is often the one who becomes a mirror, a catalyst, and a turning point all at once. They do not merely fit the life you already built. They pressure you to build a truer one. They do not complete you in the childish sense. They challenge you to complete yourself. And that is why the connection can feel so important, so rare, so impossible to ignore. If you have seen these signs in your own life, do not brush them away just because they ask more from you than easy love ever did. Sometimes the deeper path appears only after the shallow paths stop satisfying your soul. Sometimes the door opens only when you are tired of pretending not to see it. And sometimes the person who changes everything does not arrive to save you from life. They arrive to call you into it, fully, honestly, without the mask, without the script, without hiding from your own becoming. That is the real invitation, to stop chasing what simply looks good and start honoring what truly wakes you up, because the love that belongs to you will not only hold your hand, it will hold up the mirror. It will open the locked rooms. It will ask you to rise. And if you are brave enough to answer that call, your life will stop feeling like something that just happens to you and start feeling like something you were always meant to live.